Welcome back to the second part of the tutorial. Let's continue from where we ended. Now that we have refreshed the browser, at the refresh, we can see that this shows 0 orders and $0. That's just the way we want it. We can move over to the second card. We can change the name from total sales to customers. Let me save that, which is a customer. Okay, let's make that capital letter C so it's more user friendly. And then for the subtitle, going to be very similar to this first subtitle, but we're going to be using the format currency to format the average value per user. So we just copy this syntax here, paste this here, and for the format number, just go with sales data, user data this time, user data dot average value per user, and this will not be orders but average value. Save that, and we should see customers zero average value. Fair enough. We haven't actually done anything, but this should not be format number, but this time should be format currency. For the body, we also have currency as well. That's going to be the users count. Okay, that won't actually be currency. Pardon me, my bad. Would be the format number. So that's just the number, the user count. We just want to format it. So it could be it could be large amount, and we want it to be readable to users. So we can say user data dot user count. And the third one is going to be for the product. So the title would say active products. And for the subtitle, we're going to have a very similar thing here for like format number. So we'll copy this again and we'll paste it in the subtitle. And what will just be formatting will be the product data dot is inactive count. Will be product data dot inactive count, and you'll say so orders right in it's capital letter I in active. And for the body, we'll just be formatting the active count. We can just copy this whole thing here, paste it here, and change this from inactive to the active count. And we should save that. We should see we have the sales, we have the customers, and we also have the active product, and everything shows 000 because of we don't have any product and we've not added any value in our database yet. But with that, we have done with the dashboard page. So now we can move on to the product page. Now we're going to create a new route inside our admin page. So we're going to use SvelteKit files, create route. We'll call this products. Make sure we spell that right. And we're going to need the plus page, that's Svelte file. We're also going to need the plus page, the server.ts as well. And yeah, we'll get the plus page, that's Svelte. In the plus page, that's Svelte, we're going to create our little snippet stuff. So I'll get rid of this and say SFC. And we'll get the script tag and a div. And in this div, let's give this some classes. We'll say flex. And we'll go with item center. Justify between and a gap of 4. I'll save that, divide my screen, and now if I click on this product, you should see a new page here for the products. And in the div, we're going to have header. So we have a page header which we're going to use in another page. So it's better for us to just make it a reusable component now. So I'll go to my components folder, and in here I'll create a new component called page header. That's spelled. You know the drill, SFC. And in this div, we just say MB4 text for Excel. And since we want this page header should simply just be like a native element, whereas we can put things inside it, we can use the children props. I'll first create a type page header type equal to children, which is going to be of type snippet, which would be from Svelte. And then I can come here and say let structure this, and from here we can just pop in the page header type equals to props. From this structure we can get the children, and inside this div here we can just render out the children. So as you can see, this is just very small implementation. All we really needed really here was this style. So just because we want to reuse this particular style, we then recreated all these whole components. So I mean, I see the way some people can look at this and think this is silly. What we can literally have just done was get this style here, create a new reusable utility class, and then just reuse that class. But we like to do things complicated nowadays. I don't know why, but let's just go ahead. So now that we've created that, we can reuse this. And another good thing about this is that this is very extensible. We can add more things here. Who knows what we need to do in the future? So I can go back to my plus page file for the product page. I can use the page header component like so. I just call this products and save that, and we should see that pop up like that. And beautiful. And we can use a button here. So we don't want to use the usual button. We want to use the button from chassis and svelte. And remember, when we use chassis and svelte, since we have the chassis and svelte VS Code extension, you don't need to go um to the documentation anymore. We can just use CNX here and we'll get the button. I can call this add products. I can go to the script tag and CNI button and to import it, and though we've not installed it, so let's install it now. Control P, and sign, add new component using the chassis and svelte, and we'll look for the button. That should add the button component for us, but it's going to prompt us for yes or no, so let's wait for that. Ready to install? Yes. And button install that, blah blah blah, installing package dependencies, and we can just be optimistic that that would install and we can continue. So for the button, you can give this an ish ref. And when we add an ish ref to the button, it automatically turns the button to an a tag, which is a nice thing for chassis and svelte. So we can just call this the admin slash the products slash new. Now this will be a router that we'll create that would be used to add new products. Now outside of this div, would have a table. Now this table is going to show us all of our products in a well organized manner. So we can just add the products from chassis and svelte again. Go with table, and button should have installed successfully. Now would be installing the table. Yes. And install the table as well. So we can just get rid of the terminal, and I can use CNX table to generate snippets for the table. Come above here, CNI table to get imports for the table. And in the table, we don't need a caption. Caption is not needed, so we can just get rid of the caption. Control L. In the header, go to the row. When you get to the row, you get to the first head. So on the first head, we're going to have a span inside there. So we'll remove that invoice. Nope, not quite. We don't remove everything. Just put a span here. And in this span, we have the text available. Only if I can spell for God's sake. For Porsches. Now, if you guys catch any spelling errors, just correct it for yourself. I can't be correcting all of my terrible errors. Though I have this extension that just help me auto fix this thing. So yeah, it's available for purchase, and this available for purchase is gonna have a class of SR only, meaning that this will be for screen readers only. And for the class, we can just say width be 0, meaning that this available for purchase would not actually show. It's only going to be read if a user is using the screen reader, the browser's screen reader, for accessibility purposes. Now, for the table head, the next table head, we won't actually have status and all these things here. Would be adding the ones that we're going to use. So I'll go for okay. So there was an error there, but we'll take care of that later. We'll go for the name. The second one, we'll go for price. Let's make that consistent by using a capital letter N here. And yeah, we'll also have a very similar thing that we add here for the available for purchase screen reader. We want the actions as well. We don't want this one to actually show as text. We just want this to be read by the screen reader if a user is using the browser's screen reader. I'll call this action, and I'll save this one more time, and I'll see the way that reflects. So we are getting errors for some reasons. So refresh that. The way I usually debug SvelteKit errors is, first of all, I check the terminal, check what's happening there, and the errors are usually not clear. They have a lot of funny things being written down here. But one thing I can assure you is that this is coming not from the server but from the browser. Because of when we refresh this, you see it actually shows the flick of the UI and then snaps out. That's one way of knowing that it's coming from the browser. If it's coming from the server, you probably see like a 500 error or internet server error, something popping up. So now I can actually check the console to get a good look at what is going on. It's saying my hydration failed because of initial UI. Okay, that's probably not it. Let's check the second one. Cannot read property on the fine reading options. That'll be the issue there. So it says reading options from somewhere. I did not know where options where options is. Options will probably be on the server file. Nope. Options is not here. You know what we are going to do? We are going to basically just I'm gonna pause this, I'll take a look and I'll be right back. Alright, so I was able to narrow down to the issue. So what I believe the issue is was Bits UI, which is the underlying component library that Chassis and Svelte uses. So as you can see, I commented out the button and the table components as well, and the error doesn't show anymore. So when I refresh this page, it refreshes and the error doesn't pop out, it doesn't snap any of those. But when I uncomment this, so I believe it's coming from the button. I'm not sure if it's coming from the table. Let me uncomment the table and save this and see if we'll have any error show. Yeah, so no error actually shows. So let's refresh this. So error doesn't show, but the second we uncomment the button. Okay, so let's see what goes on now. Now the error shows, as you can see, snaps out. Can read the property of undefined within options. So it's coming from here. So let's go to the button, look for anywhere we see options. We don't actually see options anywhere here, so I don't think it's coming directly here from the chassis and Svelte implementation. I'm thinking it's coming from Bits UI, and this could very much do with the fact that we're using Svelte 5 and this uses Svelte 4, or I'm not really sure why, but let's get rid of the href first of all and see what that looks like. And this is just basically how I debug. I just remove things and copy things in, check whether it works or not. As you can see, the button, the button is the issue. We need to narrow down that the button is the issue. One very nice quick fix of this will be simply going to the button component of chassis and Svelte and copying the styles that we need. So I'm not actually gonna sleep here trying to fix this. Fix. I'll go here and then I'll copy this base style. Just the base style. Whatever this error is, sincerely do not care. So I'll use a native button element, and I'm pretty sure it's related to the file that we're using, Svelte 5 or something. Again, I'm not sure, but if I want to use a native, we'll use an A tag. Then we'll give this a class. I'm popping those base styles. That's a lot of styles. Save that. Refresh this. And yeah, you see that we have the add button, but just the base styles added. Where we can fix this is by just coming here and saying bg. You know what? We don't actually need to add all this. Like, what are we doing? This is a lot of styles. We're not using all of these. We don't need this. We just add simple styles here. We can just go with bg primary text foreground rounded rounded is go px3 py4. This is what that looks like. And yeah, that looks pretty ugly, just like the way we expected. So text, let's go to text white. Yeah, so that fixes it, in my opinion. I don't have to go more than that. I could just go p3 like this. So I like to make the top longer. I like to make the top the size wider. So I'll go with p. Sorry, I'll go with py3 px4. Check that, and yeah, that looks a lot better. Yeah, and that will actually be a link that we click to go to the add page. All right, so let's actually continue with the table. Now we're done for the head part of the table. We'll come to the body, and for the body, it's going to be data that we're getting from our backend. So we'll leave this here for now. And what we'll do is go to our server file here, get rid of this satisfy part. We don't need this since we're using the extension, the Svelte for VS Code extension. We don't need that. And now, since we're returning just one thing, and this return function, we can just directly return the products. Since this is the product page, it makes sense to call this product. Say await db dot products dot find many, and because I want to find all of the products that we have, I'll use find many, and I'll go with select. That's to select certain fields because we don't just want to return all of the fields. We'll go with the ID, say true. Go to the name, true. That one do we want? We want, nope. We want price and cents. We should also be true. We want is available for purchase as well. The image parts should be true. And then we go for the count. For the count, we just want to get certain field. We should use select as well. And in here, would you get order? And order would be true. Now coming out of the word select, use comma, and we want to use the order by name ascending. Save that. Now we can go back to our plus page dot svelte file, and we can get the data from the data props. So I can just say in my script side here, let data is equals to dollar sign props, and we'll get the data. Now I can do something like this. Basically, I can see data dot products, and because this is going to be an array, we have like map and all the array methods there. So in order to iterate through like an iteratable item like an array in Svelte, we use the each block. So since we're actually using the table, we can just iterate through it in the body here, this table body. So I'll come here above here and I'll use my each block. And I'll say data dot, we have product, sorry, product as product. And in here, I can pop in my table row. But for the first table cell, you're gonna want to check if this item was available for purchase. If it's available for purchase, want to show the check circle icon. But if it's not available for purchase, want to show the X circle icon. So just get rid of this class here that we have on the table cell. Don't need this. And the text, we'll get rid of it as well. Create some space. And to create this kind of check in Svelte, we use the if block. So I'll just go with if. It's missing if product dot is available for purchase. That's if it's true. I'll have a span. Span. I'll have a span. And I'll just say available. But this is going to be basically for the screen readers. So I'll say class SR only. The thing that we actually going to see, the thing that's going to be visible to us, is going to be the check circle icon. Okay, so the check circle icons actually work right now because we've now installed the icon library. So the icon library that we're going to be using is called Lucid Svelte, and that is also the icon library that Chassis and Svelte will be using for the default style. So it's the best we use that same icon. So in order to use Lucid Svelte, we firstly need to install it. So I'll open my terminal and I'll go here and I'll type in pm add lucid and create space lucid svelte, and where's that install in. And once that has installed, what we will do is just restart our server so that we get the auto import, because I really do love the auto import. So I'll restart the server. Let's make sure this actually is installed. Alright. Start the server and make sure I correct the spelling. And here I can use the check circle auto import, please. Come on. And I don't think it's going to work for auto import. So one thing we can do is we can just import it ourselves to save ourselves sometimes. And I'm using the style to talk to us to wait for the loading to show it how to see how to show. But since I decided not to show, sometimes this happens, it just glitches off and that stuff just hangs. Come on. Ah, it's off. I can come here, I can say, or I can type import check cycle from Lucid Svelte. And one other way of importing this is just importing it from the icons directly like this. This would help with development because of this is a lot of icons in this icon library. So you have to just get this particular icon and not to basically to tree shake it during development so that you get best experience, because of this icon library could result to your development experience being a bit slower, making your laptop a bit laggy if you don't have good processors. So one good way we can just do is just import it directly. So we can just go with like check Saku, or any, let's say we're going with the check, and you won't have to use this curly braces. And this would only import this check check icon. But the disadvantage of this is that if you want to import more icons here, we're going to have to be going like this. I'm having a lot of imports. So my laptop can actually take the issue that I just talked about. Sometimes it lags, but most times it can handle it. So if you notice that your development is a bit slaggy, sometimes it's probably because of the icon, and you can fix that issue by just going slash icon and then importing that very icon you want. So importing the whole Lucy Svelte package. All right. Now that we've explained unnecessary things, as always, I can just make sure that that runs. Save that. Run this again. Divide my screen appropriately. Yeah, let's continue as that loads up. So now that we've added the check circle, we can come here and we can have an else. That means if this available of purchase was false, would have something very similar here as well. Now it's going to be unavailable this time, and it won't be a check circle icon. It's going to be an X cycle icon. Make sure we import that. And for the next table cell, we'd have the product name, because if you remember, yeah, we have name here. So yeah, would be the product name. The next one would be the price. But because of the price is going to be in cents, remember we're going to have to divide by 100, and we're also going to have to format the currency so that it's readable and user friendly. To table cells, I'll type in format currency, and in here I'll go with product dot price in cents. I'll just divide this by 100. And for the next cell, we're going to want to put in, as stated here, we stated actions. But is the actions that we are supposed to be putting in there now? No, we actually missed one head. And the head that we missed would be the orders. So, or the order, and then in this cell here, this didn't import. Let me show this imports. So in this next cell, we can just put in the order. So the way we get the orders, we'll use the dot count, because if you go to the plus page that server.ts, remember when we were getting all the products, went to the counts to get all of the orders. So Prisma is very extensive, very powerful. That's why I really love it. I keep on talking about how much I love Prisma. I'm about to get married to it or something, but I really do love it. So just for the table cells, let's say it's going to be very similar to this. I can just copy and paste this down here, but it won't be format currency, it will be format number. We'll say product dot sum. Sorry, what can we do? Count, sorry, not sum. Then dot order. And we'll change this from format currency to format number. So now we can save this. And once we save this, you should see that we should see the results in our browser. Let's give this a second. Uh, okay, so you're having a 500 internal error this time, meaning that something is popping up somewhere. So I'll pause video. I'll be back very soon to check out what's going on. Okay, the first thing that I noticed, not sure if this is where the error is coming from, but I have this span import here. So I'll get rid of this, save. and let's see the way it looks. So yes, that fixed up the error. So it's normal reflecting here. We can just continue from where we left. Now on this table cell, the last table cell here, we get this a class of text right, and in the table cell, we now have a drop down component. So we can just say C, and since we're using the extension, CNX drop down menu. And you can come above here, CNI drop down menu, and next thing to do is to install it. Just choose the drop down menu here. Wait for that to load up. Go with yes and install that. Installing package and dependencies. Blah blah blah. As it's installing, let's keep on writing the code that we need. We won't save it because if you save it, it's going to throw an error if it has not installed completely. So the drop down menu basically works like this. We have a root and then we have a trigger. The trigger is going to be the button that opens it, or the trigger, whatever that opens it. It does not have to be a button, it could be really any element, but for accessibility purposes, it should be a button, and it would you click on it, you to open it, and it will open this content. So this content is going to be invincible or won't appear until you trigger it to open, and it opens this content, and that's basically how it works. And we can actually make this control, like we can get the value of open and use another element outside of this trigger to actually trigger the drop down to open. So we can actually use it that manner, but for this we'll be using the trigger itself. Let's just verify that that has installed. Yes, it has. But for some reason I'm still getting red lines here. Okay, let's save this, Ctrl KS. Alright, the error is gone. Now for the menu trigger, we'll get rid of this open. In here we'll have an icon that says more vertical. Two imports isn't working. Leave it as such. In the span we'll say action. Get by now we are trying to be accessible. So class would be SR only. And this more vertical just gives one more chance to import, and it works. And I'll save this, and that'll be for the trigger. So that's what's going to trigger it, this icon basically. So in the content, we'll get rid of this group thing. We don't need this here. Get rid of this, and I'll get rid of this as well. And I'll get rid of the label as well. All we really need are the items. So separator will be what's rid of as well. We just need one item that we can copy and paste. So for the drop down item, they're basically going to be like links to pages. So we'll have like one for download and one for edit and one for deactivate and activate, and also one for delete as well. So the first one is going to be the download. So one thing that we can do to change this into a link is to basically just use an href here. So href would be equals to slash admin slash products slash product ID slash download. So this is going to exist. This download endpoint is going to exist in the admin slash product slash this product ID slash download. So this product ID is going to represent a dynamic route, and Now that this is an E tab, we can just put download here. And for the text itself, you can just write download. The second drop down menu item is going to be a link to the edit page of these products. I will get rid of the download attributes. And it's going to be admin slash product slash product ID slash link, not download. I mean slash edit, sorry, not download. And then I'll change the download text to edit. See, like such. And then after this edit, we'll have a form. Because so we're going to be using the form actions to activate and deactivate the product. So we'll leave this as form for now. Let's come down, and after the form, we're going to be having another form. But for this time, I am to delete. So this form is going to be to toggle active status, and this one is going to be to delete. Now let's begin with the one to toggle the active status. Now since we're using form actions, we're going to give this an action and also give this a method. The action is going to be question mark slash toggle availability. That's not to spell availability. So availability. And then the method is going to be posts, and we'll have an action here which should be use enhance, like so. And inside the form, we just simply have a button, and this button is going to be of type submit, very important, type submit, and class up with full. And inside this button, in the button itself, we're going to have a drop down menu item. So I can just copy this one for the edit. And in here, depending on whether the product is available for purchase, we should deactivate or activate text. I'll get rid of this href. I don't need to see this href. And in here, we'll have if blocks. Let me just save this to format this better. And I have an each block here. For the each block, we'll just be checking whether it's available or not. So here I would say, actually it's not actually going to be an each block, sorry. It's going to be an if block. My bad. This will be if. I'll check product dot is available for purchase, and if it is, then we'll show the activate. But if it is, but if it isn't, that is going to be else. We'll show activate. I'm going to start out with a capital letter. Save that. I'm having that. It's a better to close. Alright, so we're having an error because of this is open but it isn't closed. This is closed but it isn't open. So we just copy this. I must have mistakenly deleted it. Get rid of this part, and this should be closed now. Yeah. In order to actually see that this is actually bringing something, we can actually just convert this each block from data to product to a length and it will loop through that length. Well, there's no really need for that right now. So now we'll be able to we're able to toggle the status, the active status by doing this. But we're going to have to still set up our um form action itself that will actually do all the mutations there. But before we actually call this a day for this particular drop down item, we're going to have to pass some values to this um form as well, to the form action. We're going to be using a usual input, just make this as simple as possible. The type is going to be of type hidden. The name would be ID, and the value, we need this. The value would be of product.id. And we'll set another value here because of we're going to be using like creating this as for some form of toggle. So we need like the true or a false value, whether it's true or false. And the way we're going to be sending um this boolean value is by using a checkbox. So this will type checkbox, and the name would be basically is available for purchase. Then we'll give this a class, not to make this invisible. We'll say class would be hidden, and the value, we'll get rid of this, would say checked. So checked will be equals to if the product that is available for purchase is false. So right here, I'll put in the exclamation mark in front of it. Make sure you see that. So now it's actually a bit rough for us to see what's going on because we don't actually have any product, but let's just continue. Let's finish up this form actions to activate and deactivate product, and then we'll go to add the functionality to add product, and then we'll come back to create the functionality to delete a product so that we can actually see what we are doing. Because right now we're just writing code, even if you have the browser on our right hand side. So now, yeah, we are done with the form actions. Yeah, so we'll go to the plus page as well as ts file and create the main action there. So I'll just come right here, I'll type in kit action. I'll get rid of this because we have the extension. And in here, I can just have a named action called toggle toggle availability ability. I'll also make this function asynchronous, so I'll say syn, and in here I can the structure couple of things. I can the structure sorry we need to see here. I can the structure request from here. From request I can get form data, so I can say form data would be equals to await request dot form data. And now with the name, I can actually get each value returned from the browser or from the form. So I can say const ID would be equals to form data dot get ID, and that's because of the name we gave to the input. Then this name right here, very important attribute ID. That's what we're going to use to identify and get certain input values. So I'll say ID to get the ID, and const is available for purchase would be equals to form data dot create this form data dot get, and yeah, it's gonna be is available for purchase. Where am I typing right? The get is available for purchase as well. But because this one we want to be like a boolean, so we won't use get. we use as. That's as it, if it does have it, then it's available for purchase, and it's going to be boolean. Now I can just say await db dot product that creates. Now it's actually going to be create. It's going to be update because we're actually updating um this row. I'll say update. Now I want to update where id is equals to id. Now this is basically the same thing as saying id is equals to id. They are the same name, so we can just do id like this. And no, this is not a Svelte specific something. This is something in JavaScript. So I can say data, my column here, and is available for purchase like this. And to update this is available for purchase part. So just like that, we can toggle this. And you notice that we're having this little line here because of type form data, entry value, or null is not equal to type string. And this will happen regularly. What we can just do is just typecasting as string, fix that issue quick. And that red line should go away. Now, as I said, once we add the functionality to actually toggle the availability, we're going to go on and skip the delete method for now and create the add new file so that we can actually add a new product. So in the admin, use of SvelteKit files, create route, and I'll go for new. Now click enter plus page as felt plus page as about CS as well. Good. I'll get rid of these SSC. Out of it starting to lag, starting to get slow, but no issues. SSC right here. Now I'll change this div from this to form. This form would have a method of posts class, just be space y8. We'll have an action. The action is gonna be in slash admin slash product slash new. And Microsoft will be sending files alongside in this form. We're gonna have an ANC type, and this ANC type would be equal to the multi-part form data. Save this whole thing, and we don't need this class part. We already have a class attribute here already. And before we actually continue throwing in here components, we're going to want to install the SvelteKit Super-Forms library, which is going to be what would use for form validation. It's basically probably the best form library out there, despite which UI framework you are using. I came from a React background. I used what's the name again? React Forms, Formic. Those are very incredible um from libraries, but none of them have been able to adapt for the server side or meta framework niche that we have all been moving towards. Focus Perform does that and it does it perfectly well. That's why I think that it's hands down the best um, form library of any UI framework. I don't really care whether it's React, whether it's Vue, whether it's Angular, whether it's Svelte itself. I don't really care. I think it really does beat hands down every form library. So this is the SvelteKit Super-Forms website. But the thing here is that we're not going to be using it directly. We'll be using the chassis and Svelte implementation, which uses FormSnap. And FormSnap uses SvelteKit Super-Forms. So I'll go to my form section. Where is it? Right here. And here you see FormSnap and Super-Forms and all of those. So what we want to just do is just copy this. Open up my terminal. We'll go with this one. We'll just paste that in, enter, and we'll give that a second to install. Now that it is successfully installed, we can go back to look at the anatomy. I mean, this is basically how we use it. We use the form field, we get the form control, and then we can pop in the label and then the form input, and then we can get the description here and the errors to pop out here as well. And yeah, okay, we can go with this. What I'm just looking for is like the imports for the form itself. I scroll too far that time. Yeah, so I can get this one here, copy. Now just paste it in our script tag, and I can copy this here, this form field. I'll paste it inside the form right here. Yeah, we're going to have a bunch of errors, but we'll fix them up right now. Before we do that, let's just have a page header here. The page header, remember I've created a component called page header. I told them we're going to reuse it. Yeah, I can just say add products. Save all of those. They will have errors, but let's fix those errors first. So while we installed the form library, we installed SvelteKit Super-Form, we installed Zod. So if you go to your package.json, you'll notice that those have been added as well. So we have Zod here, we have Form Snap, we have SvelteKit Super-Forms. So we can use SvelteKit Super-Forms here, and the way we use SvelteKit Super-Forms actually very straightforward and easy. Then here, consts. I don't like using const in Svelte. So I'll say let form is equals to now Superform is not doing my auto um complete and auto import, so I'm just going to cut the server. I'll see everything here, cut that server, and I'll run it again. Now I've run the server. I can just go here and write super form, and then here she gets auto import. And one thing that we should do before we continue is to just move this whole folder. So now see this new folder is in the admin page. It should actually be in the products here. So I'll move it inside the products, and I'll come here and from admin to slash products, and then from the products we can move to the add page. I just need to correct that before we continue. So we'll say super forms, and with super forms, the first thing we're going to do is get the form schema that is being returned from the load function. And in this case, we just say data dot form. Now we don't have any data, we don't have any form. So the first of all, let's just get the data. I've let data be equals to dollar sign props. And data does not have any form yet, but we would get the form later on. So for now, let's just continue. Say comma, and here I'll say validators. And because we're using Zod as the validation library, and since SvelteKit Super-Forms version 2, you can use any validation library that you want. We will just use the Zod client here. We'll import that, and in here we'll put in our schema. So we've not created a schema yet. We're going to go ahead and create a schema with Zod. But one thing I just want to talk about is that we'll be doing this validation on the client and on the server. I don't think it's necessary to do it on the client if you're doing it on the server already, but I just want to show you this method. So usually I won't actually put this, I'll just do it on the server. And if my endpoint is kind of protected with the Prisma, what do you call it? With Prisma's schema, so as you can see with the Prisma schema, it's sort of protected because we can actually add things that are not expected to be there. We can add a number to a place that's supposed to be a string, and we can add a string to a place that's supposed to be a number. So we don't actually even need the validations at all, but this is very good practice to always do this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create the schema. I'll create a new file called form schema in the libs folder. Let's say form schema.ts. So in here, I'll export const add form schema would be equals to z, and z would be from no x, z will be from zod. We'll say z dot objects, and let's just import z. I'll go with import, or let's just import z from zod, and z objects would have name, and these are just the fields that we'll be expecting, and name would be of z dot string, and we have a minimum of 3. So if we have a minimum of 3, or if you have anything less than 3 characters in the name, it will reject it. Then we'll go for the price in cents, which should be z dot number, because one needs to be a number, and then we just coerce this true. Then we'll go for the description, and the description will be of z dot string and a minimum of 5, and the description is spelled properly. And the next one is going to be a file. Now, starting from SvelteKit Super-Forms 2, it helps us to handle files as well. In the previous version, we had to handle file in a different format, but now we can handle file directly with our schemas like this. So I can just go file, I can say z dot instance. Now I said x, z dot instance of. That's going to be of instance of capital letter F for the file. Oh, then we can say comma, come here and write the message will be, this is if it actually wasn't a file. We'll say please upload a file. On count of that, we'll now use dot refine to add some more checks. If it passed that check, we want to check for whether you added one or not. So say refine f for the file, and I will check, use an arrow function to check if f dot size is greater than 0. If it wasn't, just say required. And this is going to be very similar for the image as well, because if we have a file and we just add an image to preview, so we'll change this to image, and for image we'll have a won't have this message here at all, just have refine directly, and we'll check for the size just like we did here, or if f dot type dot starts with, because one is to be only be images allowed, image slash. That's just a very neat way to make sure that this thing is only allowing images. I'll just get rid of this comma I have here to make those bugs go away, and starts with, I'm having it to red line it starts with. So property service does not exist on type string. Did you mean start with? Yes, I did mean start with. Get rid of this. And for image, we'd have a That doesn't fix it. Just rewrite it. Starts. Okay, starts with there's an S at the end of the starts. That's why. So I'll just check the starts with image slash, and if it does, then it should be allowed. But then if there is another error, it's probably going to be due to the size. So it's a maximum 100 KB upload allowed or upload size. Let's take a look at this one more time, make sure everything is okay. And I think the only thing not okay yet because we don't have any comma. Yeah, save that. And we should be good to go to reuse this in a couple of places. So the add form schema can now be used here in this Z client here. Make sure we import that. But we're also getting this red line for the data.form because we're not actually returning any form from our load function. So let's do that. Let's actually import a form from our load function. The way we go about doing that is very, very easy. Get rid of all of this unnecessary unwanted code. So go to the return, and in the return we just have form, just what we named it in the page itself. And with our weight super validate, and super validate is going to be from SvelteKit Super-Forms, and we use Zod because we're using Zod as a validation library. That's not the Zod I want to use. So we use Zod, not Zod any. I don't know why this is popping out rubbish. Zod, and we use the add form schema um Zod schema. Now we've returned form. Before we actually move, why am I having this red underline? Okay, the reason why I'm having this red underline because I'm not actually supposed to use this Zod from Zod. I'm supposed to use Zod from SvelteKit Super-Forms. So make sure where you're when you are where you are importing Zod from is the correct place. So this might get a little bit confusing sometimes. So I want to import Zod from SvelteKit Super-Forms. So since that don't give me an auto import, I'll just import it manually. I'll type import Zod from SvelteKit Super-Forms slash adapters, and that should work. I go to my plus page as Svelte file, and you see that all the errors in this part are gone away. Now we can destructure from this form itself a couple of things. Let really is equals to form, and from here we can destructure form first of all. So because we can have two of the same name, we just change this to form data, and the structure enhance, and enhance is the one created by SvelteKit Super-Forms, not the one by SvelteKit. And we will also get the lead. And now you see that we start getting red lines for the name here because of the name here is incorrect. It's not in our schema. So if you check what is in our schema, it's just description, file, image, name, and price and cents. No username. Username doesn't exist in our schema. So other thing I want to do is also install this input component. So the input component is what we're going to be using, but we haven't actually installed that one yet. Just install the input. Go yes, and it has installed the input for me. Now I can go ahead and type in CNI input, and this didn't work the way I expected it to. Alright, so we're having a bit of alright, it works now. Save that. Now for the name, the first one I would be using here would be name. So we can just say name here, and the label would say name, and this part here will change this to name. We won't actually have any description, so we can get rid of this, and we'll do the errors like that. And I'll save this. I'll click on my let this reload. Once reload, I'll click on my add products button, and we should be directed to the add product page where we should be able to see one input field. So click here, and did I click on that? Okay, I believe I clicked on that, but I don't think it's doing anything for some reason. All right, it finally navigated. As you can see, we have add product and we have oops, and something happens and it snaps off. So we are getting on this track and only be used during component initialization. And okay, let's just control case S to save everything. Refresh this. Now that didn't fix anything. So let's go back and check properly. You know what? I'm going to get rid of this here. Save. See how that looks. Now this renders out the page. So what happens when I pop back that in and I save? What happens and it disappears? So again, I believe this has to do something with the fact that this is Svelte 5 that we are using and it's very unstable because we are literally just popping this in. Though when I built this initially, um, original one actually didn't have any of these issues. Maybe I didn't take note of them, but the demo worked, so it clearly didn't have any of these issues. What I will do is just pop back in the description and see whether it will be happy that we have description in. Let's get rid of this, refresh, and let's see. And you know what? Would end here for today, and tomorrow we'll continue by starting from fixing the bug with the form and continue with building the rest of the add form functionality. So I'll see you next time.